Alright, so maybe about some time ago, the starters and the reserves for the All-Star game was announced, and a lot of people thought that there was snubs such as DeJounte Murray and LaMelo, until eventually those two players were chosen to replace the injured Draymond Green and KD. So with the All-Star weekend wrapping up, I decided to look back on the All-Star selections in the past, and more specifically, the worst ones. Alright, before I start talking about the players on this list, I don't necessarily mean that these players are bad, and it's definitely not to discredit their achievements in their career, as I'm only talking about why in that specific year that these players didn't really have an all-star worthy stats or performance. Alright, so please don't hit the dislike button, please. Thank you. Anyways, it's Ross from Hooper's Corner, and today here's my list for the worst all-star selections in the past decade or so, in no specific order. So here we go. First, we have Tyson Chandler in the 2013 All-Star Game. Tyson Chandler was a good player. I mean, coming into the league as a skinny kid out of high school who developed into a pretty good rebounder and rim protector really helped him contribute to the Dallas Mavericks championship during the 2011 season. After his championship season with the Dallas Mavericks, he went to the New York Knicks in the next season, and then the season after is where he managed to make his first All-Star team at the age of 30. So what made him a pretty poor pick this season? Well, if you look at his stats, he was averaging around 11 points per game and 11 rebounds per game on 67% shooting, with most of his shots coming from around the rim. Look, Tyson Chandler was good, but definitely not great this season. But look, I feel like a strong reason why Tyson Chandler was chosen was because of the Knicks standing during that season. I mean, I gotta admit, the Knicks were actually balling that season as they finished second place in the Eastern Conference until they eventually lose in the second round of the playoffs. So during the season, yes, it makes sense for coaches to look at Tyson Chandler as an all-star due to the impact he had that season with the Knicks. But if we're looking at the stats alone, I would probably choose Brooke Lopez over Tyson for the all-star game. Brooke Lopez was averaging 18.6 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, as the Nets held a record of 26-15 before the all-star break. Man, he was really a big part of the team's success that season as well, as he became a better rebounder and an offensive player that season. I know Brooke was eventually added in as a reserve as a replacement for Rajon Rondo, who unfortunately had a season-ending ACL injury, but I feel like Brooke should have been an all-star over Tyson in the first place. I mean, that's just my thoughts. Alright, moving on to the second one, we have, can't believe I'm gonna say this, but Tim Duncan in the 2011 All-Star Game. I think one of the main reasons he was chosen was because of how good the Spurs was that season. Man, this is a hard one to talk about because I love Tim Duncan and the simple, efficient playstyle he has. In my list, he's probably the greatest power forward of all time, but hey, that's just me. But unfortunately, this season alone, his numbers dropped as he was averaging just around 13 points per game and 9 rebounds per game, and I really don't think he deserved the All-Star vote as much as the players who were snubbed that season. So I'm just gonna name those who were snubbed that played the same position as Timmy. First, I got Zach Randolph, who was having a really good statistical season, averaging 20 points per game and 13 rebounds per game. And next, I got LaMarcus Aldridge, who really stepped up as an all-rounder for Portland when they lost Brandon Roy and Greg Oden, averaging 21 points per game and 9 rebounds per game. Then finally, Kevin Love, who was a double-double machine that time, averaging 21 points per game and 15 rebounds per game. I mean, that's crazy. And I really feel like it was one of those cases of good players on a bad team, but he definitely had my vote that season. But eventually he was selected as a replacement for the injured Yao Ming, and Kevin Love definitely deserved to be an all-star in the first place, at least over Tim Duncan that season. Sorry, Timmy. Next, we got Kyle Korver in the 2015 All-Star Game. You know what? I gotta give it to Kyle Korver. I mean, he came in the league as a second-round draft pick in 2003, and then eventually developing into one of the best shooters in the league. During that 2014 and 15 season, the 33-year-old Kyle Korver managed to make his first All-Star debut, averaging 12.7 points per game, 4 rebounds, and shooting 52% from downtown as a replacement for Dwayne Wade. Looking just stats-wise though, Korver's stats weren't really All-Star worthy except for the 3-point shooting percentage alone. So yeah, if I'm being honest here, when I saw this selection back then, I was pretty surprised as I know he was going to make it in one of the events anyways, which is the 3-point contest, but not the All-Star Game. But again, like the other players I listed and talked about here earlier, I feel like the Atlanta Hawks team performance and standing really played a role in Korver being selected to be in the All-Star Game. I don't know if you guys remember, but that Hawks team was balling, and they finished the season first in the Eastern Conference with a record of 60-22, including their amazing 22 win streak run in that season. So this amazing team performance really put a spotlight on a lot of players like Kyle Korver. I think it's also important to note that 4 players from Atlanta Hawks managed to make in the All-Star game that season, and those players were Jeff Teague, Al Horford, Paul Millsap, and of course, Kyle Korver. Look, again, I'm not discrediting to the success of Kyle Korver and any of the other players in this video, but I'm just saying, there were definitely better choices that year that could have been Dwayne Wade's replacement. This one might be a surprise for you, but I definitely would have selected Brandon Knight that season over Korver. I know we all remember Brandon Knight for highlights like him missing that game-winning layup, getting ankle broken by Kyrie, and of course, that poster dunk that DJ blessed him with. In that season, Brandon was actually balling for the Bucks. He was averaging an 18, 5, and 4 stat line, and most importantly, the Bucks were actually winning during that time. A lot of good performing players on a bad team misses out because the goal of the All-Star game is to usually reward the players doing well on a winning team. So for me, it didn't really make a lot of sense for Brandon Knight not to be selected over Kyle Korver. That's just me. Alright, now the last one on the list I got for you guys is Roy Hibbert in the 2014 All-Star game. The two-time All-Star managed to get his second trip during the 2013 and 14 season, and I just gotta say, definitely underwhelming stats. Hibbert was averaging around 11 points per game and 7 rebounds per game in 30 minutes per game. I mean, to be fair, his impact in the team was definitely evident since the Pacers play defense well when he's in the game. The Pacers defense improves to a 92.7 defensive rating when he's on the court, and the rating slips to 95.1 when he's not on the court. But if we were looking at the stats alone, I think Andre Drummond would have been a better pick, as that man was averaging double-double stats, recording 13 points per game and 13 rebounds per game. During that time, Drummond was holding up pretty well for a 20-year-old and had a shot to be in the Olympics team that time as well. But unfortunately, it was one of those good players on a bad team scenario, as the Pistons finished the season tallying up 29 wins and 53 losses. So Roy Hibbert being chosen kind of makes sense, but I just think it would have been pretty cool to see the young Andre Drummond in the All-Star game that season. Alright, that's it for me today. If you liked that video, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Let us know in the comments your thoughts and opinions about these players that made the list, and feel free to comment down any video suggestions that you think we should produce. Again, thank you guys for watching, and we hope to see you guys in the next one.